This morning on Sunrise Early News, breaking now, bushfire nightmare, lives and homes under threat west of Melbourne. Developing today, Sydney heatwave havoc, wild storms leave thousands in the dark amid fears that the power grid could fail in a summer scorcher. All aboard the Metro, how Brisbane's transport revolution will change your travel. And Hurricane Owen blows away the thunder with a record equalling ton as Hobart claims its maiden Big Bash title.
Live across Australia, this is Sunrise Early News.
Good morning. Residents in parts of Victoria's west are being ordered to take shelter immediately after multiple fast-moving bushfires rapidly intensified overnight. Fires burning near Horsham in the Little Desert National Park are burning out of control. Warnings have been issued for residents in the area to take shelter immediately. Meantime, a fire in the southern Grampians has also intensified, with anyone in the area ordered to leave immediately. Hot, windy, dry conditions have created a triple threat for firefighters.
The air mass above that fire is so unstable that it's actually generated its own thunderstorm, and we're seeing some lightning strikes ahead of the fire front there. So very challenging time for firefighters.
Residents should keep an eye on the current warnings on the Vic Emergency website. And turning north, Queenslanders are on high alert today with the chance of not one but two cyclones which could form off the coast later this week. The first cyclone of the season could form in the Coral Sea off the far north coast on the weekend, triggering a severe weather warning for up to 320 millimetres of rain. The areas possibly in the firing line include the Palm Island, Ingham, Innisfail and Cardwell. And Sydney-siders are being warned to stay inside this morning and keep an eye on the vulnerable, with temperatures across the city soaring into the 40s. Severe thunderstorms are also forecast across the region, with heavy rain and flash flood warnings for Gosford, Wollongong, the Blue Mountains, Hawkesbury and Greater Newcastle areas. It follows more dramatic weather last night, with Sydney smashed by an intense storm that caused minor damage to properties and some short reprieve from the heat. Firefighters in Adelaide have saved neighbouring properties from a dramatic house fire overnight. The home on Raphael Avenue in Dernan Court erupted into flames around 8:30. Heavy black smoke and raging flames could be seen pouring from the building, sparking warnings for nearby residents. Crews brought it under control within 45 minutes. A 43-year-old man has been charged by New South Wales Police after allegedly vandalising the Police Wall of Remembrance in Sydney's Domain. Officers say the man damaged the monument, etching the words "evil" and "dogs" into it. They arrested the 43-year-old alleged offender at Glebe yesterday. He'll now appear in the Downing Centre local court later today. Holocaust survivors and world leaders have gathered to mark 80 years since the liberation of the Auschwitz concentration camp in Poland. Europe correspondent Ben Downey is there for us. Now, Ben, leaders were brought to tears as they listened to survivors.
An incredibly moving ceremony, Mon, has just concluded here. Among those world leaders you mentioned, King Charles, Queen Mary of Denmark and Ukrainian and French presidents. We're just getting some live pictures in now of the King now that this ceremony has ended. He's just toured here at Camp 1, seen the piles of shoes, luggage, prosthetics, and he's about to lay a wreath at the wall of death inside the camp. But for all the world leaders who came here today, they never took the podium, never delivered a speech. That honour was reserved for survivors, those who were able to get out of this dev camp when it was liberated by the Red Army. Of course, 80 years ago, their voices were ignored by the Nazis. Today, they were revered by the world's leaders, here to remember an important message. Of course, as well, another sad fact is 10 years ago, the 70th anniversary, there were thousands of survivors who were able to make the pilgrimage here. Today, there were barely a few dozen. They finished off the ceremony by lighting candles, followed by those world leaders with a very important message to share.
Our Jewish Christian values have been overshadowed worldwide by prejudice, fear, suspicion and extremism, and the rampant anti-Semitism that is spreading among the nations is shocking.
And that anti-Semitism, well, it reached its peak here in Auschwitz. You're seeing pictures there of Charles just by himself about to lay a wreath, finishing off his tour of the death camp here at Auschwitz, where the worst of these horrors were committed. Those wreaths there were laid earlier today by the first survivors, nearly 12 hours ago now, just Polish people, because they were the people who'd suffered the most at this death camp before other Jews from the likes of Hungary and other nations were brought here. Now here, he's walking in, presented with a wreath by an official from the palace. He's been directed there to the wall of death. And of course, it's that wall where people were flayed, they were beaten, they were killed. People here today have come in a pilgrimage to deliver prayers, as well as reflect on what should never be repeated, and renewed their promise, of course, to never forget the horrors that were here. I'll let this moment breathe. Of course, an incredibly important moment there for the king. He feels a duty to pay his respects. He was able to visit other Jewish centres in Krakow and Poland during his time here in the past few days. He is a man of faith and spoken many times about how his faith, the Church of England, shares much with the Jewish faith and the other faiths of the Abrahamic religions. It's something that he holds very dear in his reign and what he tries to speak and do every day throughout his tenure as the king. Of course, that message of anti-Semitism now is raising its head. It was actually mentioned specifically in the ceremony by the speakers that it had spread across the world again, even to Australia. The king reflecting there on the end of the ceremony here at the 80th anniversary of the Auschwitz liberation.
Yes, we saw the king walk away from the wall of death and then turn back to reflect again. A very moving ceremony there in Auschwitz. Thanks very much to Ben Downey for us there live. Well, back home, an extraordinary video has emerged of the moment that a police car was stolen from under the noses of two officers in Adelaide. The brazen thieves pulled over by police for a routine stop in the city's northern suburbs. With sirens blaring, the thieves took off at speed, leaving the officers in a panic.
Guys! Get the out the car!
Get the car now!
3-5 urgent assistant. Our vehicle's been taken. Heading east towards Hampstead Road. Lights and sirens on.
The incident highlights the dangers that police face on a daily basis. These officers fortunately weren't injured, but there's no doubt they had some explaining to do when they got back to the station. A Melbourne pub patron has been left stunned after being asked to remove his Donald Trump Make America Great Again cap or leave the venue. Angelo Notto was celebrating at the Captain Baxter Bar in St Kilda on Australia Day when he was approached by management.
Well, I was told it was political incitement, which I think is completely nonsense. It wasn't. I was actually just having a bad hair day and I liked the hat and I wanted to wear it.
Mr Notter says that the manager had an American accent and he wonders if the request was politically motivated. A meticulously planned operation is currently underway with Perth Zoo's beloved elephant Permay's trunks packed for the trek right across the Nullarbor to Adelaide's Montaro Safari Park. Zookeepers have taken more than a year to design and build Permay's crate for the 3-day journey. Her relocation coming after Tricia, the zoo's matriarch, passed away in 2022. Permay's new home will allow her to roam alongside other female elephants, and she'll be joined by Ellie Friend, Putra Mass in winter. Dreamworld is set to bid farewell to one of its famous rides, with the Claw swinging for the final time today. The much-loved and feared ride has provided 20 years of thrills and countless upturned stomachs. But get ready, the big one is coming. King Claw will be launched in September. King Claw's top speed will be almost 100 kilometres an hour and will eclipse the original Claw's height by almost 50%. Sounds horrific. We'll have more coverage of that throughout the morning. Well, some of our youngest Aussies are preparing for a very big day today. The first day of school often comes, of course, with a mix of nerves and excitement. And if that's the feeling in your household this morning, there are some top tips to prep for prep.
Arabella Wiggins has been practicing for the big day since she got her brand new uniform and backpack.
How does it feel?
Good. She has tried her uniform on about 57 times so far. She's ready to go.
But first day of school nerves are normal, and not just for little kids. Most teachers will tell you it's the parents who worry more, which brings us to the first tip. Make the drop-off swift and walk away with confidence.
It's okay if they've got a few little wobbles in their tummy on the first day.
The transition from home or early learning centres to a strict school routine is a big deal.
When they're coming from an early learning service where they've got chef-prepared meals every day and someone takes them to the bathroom.
It's the little things.
Maybe be a bit more gentle with it.
Like learning how to unwrap a sandwich and tying your own shoes and getting through without a nap.
When you do pick them up from school, they're going to be very tired. They've just done a full day of school without a rest.
It's also common for older children to feel uneasy about returning to school, particularly those with anxiety.
Because they've had such a long break, is uncertainty.
Parents should highlight the positives of school, be organised the night before so the morning's not a rush.
Talking through as much of the day as possible, so be the calm so that their children know that they are going to be okay.
And you will be too. Amanda Abate, 7 News.